Hello there, it's Jessica Collins from forestbathingcentral.com, and today I just wanted to bring you 10 tips for forest bathing. Just 10 tips to get the most out of your experience and just sort of tips of the trade, if so to speak. So, first of all, before I even get to number one, just get outside. That's my message. My main message is to just get into the forest, spend time there. All you really have to do is go into the woods, go into any part of nature really, but the woods have some unique healing elements in them. So I just encourage you to get out into nature, into the woods, just spend time quietly, just relax, just take everything in with every sense. And that's pretty much all there is to forest bathing. You can make it more complicated if you want to, but it really is that simple. So here are 10 tips for your next forest bathing adventure. Number one, limit phone use. I do take my phone along with me sometimes. I often am recording things for Forest Bathing Central on Instagram or for here on YouTube. So sometimes I do have my phone with me, but I try not to bring it out very often. Like I'll take maybe a couple minutes, do what I need to, and then carry on and really get into the experience. So I wouldn't say necessarily leave your phone at home, because in this day and age, it's just, you probably wouldn't. Plus, you probably want it on you just for safety reasons. But I would definitely limit electronics, because the whole point of being out in nature and forest bathing is to get rid of all your distractions and all the energy that comes from your phone. So that is number one. Also, to go along with that, I do love to take pictures and I love to remember things about my forest bathing trips, but I did just release a video not too long ago called Imprinting, the process of imprinting, where I talk about taking snapshots with your mind and how to do that, and to make them more potent for later. So if you are truly dedicated to forest bathing in the raw without any electronics, then I would encourage you to check out imprinting. Tip number two is to find a sit spot. A sit spot is basically just a place that you return to in the forest and just sit and take in the atmosphere. So each of the forests and little stands of trees or just nature areas that I visit, I have a place where I sit. A sit spot when you're talking about forest bathing is just it's a spot where you can sit. Now I do also have a video about sit spots, but basically the premise is find a place that you can return to each time so you can notice the changes. And usually it's off the beaten path, but not so far that you'd get lost, but off the beaten path far enough that you feel uninhibited by visitors, passersby, that type of thing. And I would encourage you to use one at every place that you like to frequent, because it's a cool way to see changes, like I said, and just a way to make the forest feel more like home. All right. Tip number 3, I would recommend that you set an intention for your practice, just like you would in yoga. And I've always wondered, like, what do they mean, set an intention? Like, what's my intention supposed to be? And I thought it was I don't know. I thought I had to be way more creative than just relax or something like that. But it really is just pick like one word or a state of emotion that you want to feel when you're done. Relax. So if you're going out into the forest to get away from distractions, then you would set that type of intention. If you're going out in the forest to learn more about the flora and fauna, well, that can be your intention. So I would just get one very simple intention for your practice when you go out into the woods, just to give you a focus. You don't have to focus on that. Don't force it. Don't ever force it, but it gives you a nice something to focus on. Tip number 4 to go along with that, just like I said, don't force anything. So I have a whole bunch of forest bathing exercises. I have an immersion library on Forest Bathing Central. There's a few invitations that you can find online, that type of thing. Now you can bring those, you can use those. They're a great way to focus, but do not force them. And if you're not feeling one, if you're not feeling it, don't worry about it. Just go out to relax, to be in the moment, to practice some mindfulness meditation. So the tip here is just don't force anything. Don't force yourself to identify plants or seek out something or find answers to all your deepest questions. Just don't force that type of stuff. Just be out there and see what happens. Tip number 5 is I would perform some type of entrance exercise or some type of release to ease you in to forest bathing. So you don't want to just rush from being a rushed, appointment bound person to right to the forest and without some type of transition, you could make it even a little type of ritual that you do before you go into the forest, just to separate the two. So I have a few ideas on my blog and on my forest bathing channel here. But something like a stretch, like a breathing through like a set of 5 stretches or something, 5 breaths each. Or I know some people will take a stone and release their worries into the stone and then put the stone down or throw it into a river or a creek or something and let them go and not pick them back up when you leave. So I know there's all sorts of little ritual type things that you could do like that, but it's a really great way to ease in and to transition from your normal harried lifestyle to the slowness and mindfulness of the forest. Tip number 6 is to not worry about how far you go. I actually would recommend that you stay in one place when you're forest bathing within a certain vicinity. I mean, you can certainly slowly walk, but the point is not to move from one spot to another. It's really to be in the one spot that you're already in. So oftentimes when I'm in the forest, I'll just pick a tree or a sit spot like we were talking about and just stay there for the entire time and then hike afterwards. That's fine. But to get the full experience of forest bathing, it's really best to stay in one spot and not be hurried and not move around, and I know that's hard, but that's the whole point, is to change to change all your habits of being so rushed and having to move and having to be from one place to the other or working on a list or that type of thing. It's to stop that and take a moment to not do that. So I recommend staying within maybe a 10-yard vicinity or something. Just stay in one place and experience it from there. Tip number 7, this goes along with what I introduced at the beginning. Use all your senses. So the best way to get into forest bathing is just to start with a simple closing your eyes and paying attention to your breath, paying attention to smell, sound, movement, just the very, very basics, just to tune in to what's happening right this second. That's what mindfulness is, and that's what forest bathing is about, just tuning in right here and now to what is coming in through your senses. Focus on them one at a time. And you can always, once you get a hang of the 5 senses, there's like 5 more senses, like proprioception and gravity and that kind of stuff that you can add on, just to feel your weight. When you meditate and they tell you to feel your weight in space, feel your legs against the floor, that type of thing. So I would always start there. Tip number 8, bring your journal. Now, I am a huge fan of journaling and journals, and I nature journal, I journal, I um, keep records of the kids' things and stuff like that. So I love journaling, but it's really, when you're forest bathing out in nature, journaling really puts a whole new layer. So a journal is a great way to focus your attention, to record what you've learned or observed, um, just to make cute little doodles or, little things that you want to remember. So with the immersion program that I have, each page comes with a little field notes note card. And the intention is to write down what you've noticed each time. Like you would want to try an exercise more than once, and what was different between the one and the other. What did you see? What experiences did it bring up? Even just drawing a cool plant that you saw, or writing down a poem that came to your mind while you were out there. So I just really encourage you to bring a journal. I've started keeping my maps in my journal of my favorite places to hike and forest bathe. Certain leaves, sometimes I gather leaves it's fall right now, so gathering really cool, pretty leaves from the experience. So it's not so much about keeping a diary, saying what I did today, everything I did today in your diary. That's not really what it's about. It's more about keeping record and just somewhere to write things down, when those ideas pop into your head while you're out. Tip number 9 is to practice gratitude. And you can practice this from any different angle. Practice gratitude for the trees, just thinking about how grateful you are for their oxygen, for their presence, for all that they do for our planet. You can be thankful to God for creating the planet. It's just a practice of being thankful, because gratitude, people talk about keeping gratitude journals and that type of thing. And that's why just cultivating a heart of gratitude is going to change your life. It's going to make you see more things to be grateful for and have more blessings in your life. So that's a cool thing. Just be grateful. And tip number 10, going along with one of our first tips, is to have an exit routine when you leave the forest. So just like you might use a worry stone or do some breathing exercises before you enter, also do one before you leave. You need some type of transition to go back into life again from the serenity of the forest. And you might change your shoes, or do your journaling exercise when you're done, when you get to your car, or when you get back home. I really like to take a minute to take in how I feel before and after. So I take a minute to assess, just like after maybe a workout, just take a minute to assess how you feel and just remember that, so that next time hey, if I'm feeling really frenzied, this really worked to make me feel calm. Forest bathing or being out in nature really worked to transform my entire mood. So if you don't take a minute to assess where you're at, you'll never notice that even happened. So that's a cool exit strategy to really culminate the entire experience. So those are my quick 10 tips. Really, forest bathing is about being out in nature, being under the trees, and just taking it all in. It does not need to be more complicated than that, but these are my tips to help you get a better experience every time. So hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this and would like more. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any more of these videos, and let's chat in the comments below about your forest bathing and what tips you might offer. All right, I will see you next time. Bye.